So with that, welcome Dr. Kyra.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you very much for that warm clapping welcome. Hopefully we'll do that a few more times. So I'm not used to being mic'd up. I'm used to just being theatrical and projecting, so we'll see how this goes. But, the theme I was told for the month for here is expanding your circle. It's a nice vague concept, isn't it? Expanding your circle, what does that really mean? And I'm going to hit it on a couple different points today. So, just to give you a little bit more background about me, yes, I specialize in working with highly sensitive people. So, as you might guess, I myself am a very highly sensitive person. What does that really mean to be sensitive? That means that we were born, I look at it really differently. Back up here. A lot of times we think about being sensitive as being sort of in pain, uncomfortable, overwhelmed, overly emotional. That's how we look at our sensitivity. And the way I view sensitivity is that we were born with a little more connection, a little more spiritual connection. That valve, that faucet being open a little bit more. And we were born that way. So that when we came into this world, most of us were already quite aware of what was going on. We could feel the energy of what was happening in that family. We had plans already. A lot of us were raring to go. We're old souls, is another way of putting that. We're old souls. And so we were here raring to go. The story that my mother had of me, which I never really knew how she felt about this story, but was that when I was 2, so old enough to walk and talk, I would get a book under one arm and a toy in the other hand, and I would go to a door and say, "I'm leaving this place." And she would say, "Okay, bye," not thinking that I would go, and I would go, and I would just keep walking. And so the story that I heard most of my life was eventually they had to put a lock up higher on the door so that I couldn't get out. Then later I found out the fence around the yard, which I thought was for the dog, was for me. So I always wanted to go out and experience the world. I always wanted more. I always wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to experience more. And that's really what we are when we're born. But then things happen, and we start shutting down in various ways. So if you are a sensitive person, or if you live with someone who's very sensitive, you know what I'm talking about. For a lot of sensitive people, we start making our lives a little smaller and a little smaller and a little smaller by doing things such as saying, "I can't stand being there. That's going to be too much energy. That's going to be too overwhelming. I don't want to do that. Well, I can't work in this field. I know I can't do that. I can't deal with people all day, all the time. I don't want to do that." Or a lot of sensitive people are empathic. And I'm going to just define that again very briefly. Empathic, meaning that we literally sense and feel other people's energy, also animals' energy, the energy of a place. In our society, people just don't talk about energy, but it's really pretty silly that we don't talk about it because it's everywhere. We all have a magnetic field. We go to a doctor, we get an EKG, you get an EC. That's energy. But yet it's confined to these specific places where it's okay to talk about it, and then in other places in life it's not okay to talk about it. But it doesn't matter if it's okay to talk about it or not, we sense it, we feel it. And what happens is some people, everybody's a scale, right? Some people are pretty darn sensitive, some people are really, really sensitive. Some people are kind of empathic, some people are really, really, really empathic. And those of us who are very, very empathic get jumbled sometimes about what's really coming from other people versus our own emotions, and also can sometimes get overwhelmed with other people often have a lot of intense emotions, right? Anger, frustration, sadness, grief, guilt, and those are loud emotions a lot of the time. And so when you're an empathic person and you pick up on those things, we're problem solvers. A lot of sensitive people are. We're problem solvers. We want to understand the world, and we want to know how to help people. We want to know how to grow, and we want to know how to fix things. So you pick up on someone's grief, and you go, well, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with this? Because I want to help this person, but they don't want my help. I don't even hardly know them. It's the guy who works next to me. In the cube next to me. Or we say, that's incredibly uncomfortable. What does that mean? What does it mean? And so that's part of what I wanted to talk about today in regard to expanding your circle, is understanding that as sensitive people and being empathic, we can expand this circle in a more comfortable way. Because what we often do is kind of start to close down our circle instead, due to being empathic. Does that make sense? That we think, I don't want to pick up on these people's stuff. I don't, like for me, for example, I've started doing karaoke. Perhaps you can join me sometime. But it was really hard at first to go to the bars, to go to the different bars and find the different karaoke places and figure out where I wanted to go, because I'd spent a long time specifically not going to bars, not being around drunk people. Now, I know you might not get that impression of me, but that is what I was doing, was spending a lot of time trying to control my environment and who I was around. And so this has been a great experience for me to go out to different bars and do karaoke at different places, because I'm learning more and more and more, living my talk, that we create what's immediately around us. We create the vibe that's around us with our own intention. And I know that that's a hard one for us all to accept when we say, oh, come to my house and tell me I created that. Or meet my neighbor, please, or at work, I don't think I created this. Well, what I want you to do today is, I think a lot of you understand that concept, and you've heard it. Maybe you've listened to Abraham Hicks, and you listened to Wayne Dyer. You've listened to those kinds of great speakers say, you create your own reality. And you've heard them say, it's your intention. Oh, it's your vibration, and that's reflecting back to you. It's a mirror. And we say, okay. And yeah, that makes sense up until I don't really want to hear that. And so we're going to look at it a little bit differently today. Because, well, it is true. But we don't need to take that personally. You don't need to look at yourself and say, okay, let's just give an example here. Let's say there's someone at work, a coworker, who's really rude, disrespectful, isn't cooperating with you, and it's just making you want to quit where you work. And so you listen to something like Abraham Hicks and you hear, this is your own vibration that's creating this scenario. So then as sensitive people, where do we go? What am I doing wrong? Why can't I understand this? How I'm empathic, I'm picking up on what's going on with them. Can't they pick up on what's going on with me? What's going on here? This is all screwballs. And then we get tired, and nothing has come from that. So instead, what you just, for this time being, while we're here today, is completely take the pressure off of yourself. It is nothing that you are doing wrong. It's a habit. And that's all it is. That is all it is a habit of vibration. We're born into a world where people are crabby a lot of the time. Isn't that the truth? People are crabby a lot. They just are. One little thing goes wrong. It's like the leak under the sink, and you hear just expletives, and it's like, it's just a leak under the sink. It's no big deal. But people are, we live in drama. Humans live in drama, and so it doesn't take too much to get someone off on that kind of energy. And so here we are. That's the world we live in, and it's just expected. And it's rarer to find a place where people are just really consistently in a joyful energy, where people are going to say, oh, it'll work out fine. Whereas, and that's what as sensitive people, that's where we are comfortable. That's where we want to be. The other stuff is just a habit. It's just the world we grew up in. It's going to school I pick on school a lot because it's going to school for years upon years upon years upon years upon years upon years and saying, well, do this the way the teacher tells you. Don't have too much fun, whatever you do. For crying out loud, just sit there and listen. Don't be joyful about this. You have to go to a counselor. And so, we learn very well to behave and to not have too much fun. And so it's just a habit. So can you all agree to that with me today? That we're not going to be hard on ourselves about the vibrations we've created in the past? That we're not going to be hard on ourselves about maybe it's a relationship issue that's happening or something that's not going well at work? The vibrations that we've been living in are old habits. And that's all they are. So there's nothing we're doing wrong. There's nothing we need to super solve and figure out. It just is what it is. It's a pattern that's happened over a long period of time. So what does that have to do with expanding your circle? To recognize that you're not doing anything wrong. Those other people aren't doing anything wrong per se. We can expand back out to recognize that we can change the vibration, the energy of what's happening in our lives. We can expand that out. For a lot of empathic people, they really do close down and shut down. So energetically, say we've got this aura, this etheric energy that's really wide and big, and as empathic people, we start bringing it in and bringing it in and bringing it in because we experience other people's pain, because this other person's crabby, because I might say this wrong, or I might make a mistake, or blah 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 blah. And it comes and it comes and it comes and it comes. You've just decreased your circle and decreased the wonderful positive things that could come from connecting with these people. Because there's fear involved. I don't want to pick up on their stuff, or there's confusion. Okay, so that's a part of what it has to do with expanding your circle. So, like everybody taking a nice deep breath, I get present here, and for a moment, I want you just to tune into yourself and just notice, where is that circle for you right now? Where is your circle of energy? How close is it to your body? A lot of sensitive people are very kinesthetic, so they feel it rather than necessarily seeing it, but whatever you notice is perfect. You may see it, you may feel it, you may even notice motion or sounds associated with your circle of energy around you. And let's practice in this space where it is completely 100% safe, absolutely safe in this moment. Everybody, there's no judgment going on here. Everybody's very supportive of each other. This is a completely safe place. Practice allowing that circle to expand and see how far it expands. For some of you, that expansion is going to be just out a little further from where you are. For some of you, it's going to fill up all of Linden Hills, and that's perfect. Let that expand and feel for a moment that freedom. You actually might want to move your body a little bit too as you realize you have more space to move. There's more freedom. And you can take up all the space you want energetically. There's space for everybody. So now I'm going to shift gears just a little bit because you're getting 2 for 1 today. This is 2 talks in 1. So this is what I always do. So I want to go back to, as sensitive people, we were born with a little more connection. And you know what I mean by that. We were born knowing a little bit more about our soul, having that information, knowing a little bit more about divinity, knowing, I think what I was doing when I was 2, when I was leaving, was knowing that I'm a lot bigger than this little house in this little town in Sesame Street. I'm bigger than that. There's more for me out there. There's more. And I was ready to do that a little before I could use the toilet appropriately. So my mother would not let me go. But we have this connection, but we don't know what to do with it. We don't know what to do with it because no one says, oh yeah, you're raring to go, aren't you? Okay, well let me teach you how to connect with your ancestors, how to connect with your spirit guides. Let's teach you how to use your intuition. Let's do in a few generations. I think this will be more commonplace, but we didn't grow up that way, most of us. Now, occasionally I've spoken to people from different cultures or Brazil or some other countries, and they say, no, my mother did. And I say, well, please tell us how you did that, because here in this country, we don't do that so much. We focus on what is and what we can see and what we can perceive with our 5 physical senses. So another thing I want to talk about today is my very unassuming little black book I brought here is a nice old Testament, Psalms from my grandfather. So it's a little Norwegian, this is like from the late 1800s, that my cousin in Norway gave me. And so what I want to talk about is our ancestors. This is something that we know we have that connection to, and it's part of our spiritual support system. But in our culture, we don't really go there, do we? We don't really talk about ancestors. We talk about our dysfunctional family and things that I'm a psychologist, so this is a topic of conversation a lot. You know, our dysfunctional family, or, well, that great-grandparent who made the trek across the ocean to come here, or we talk about using 23andMe or some kind of DNA test to find out, oh, well, what is my heritage? What is the mixture in here? And has anyone here ever done that 23andMe or those things, a few people? It's kind of fun, isn't it, to do that? It's kind of fun because when you're waiting for it to come back, it's like, oh, it's going to be exciting. What am I going to find out? And for me, I found out, oh, well, not too many surprises, although it does tell you how much Neanderthal you have in you. I was not expecting that. Yeah, it does. But an interesting thing it does is that and that's because when it's giving you the countries and the regions that it feels that they see in your DNA, that's about the most 10 generations back. But then they also can do something called a haplogroup, which shows you how, and I'm going to be saying this wrong, if anybody's a scientist out there, just correct me later, not now. But the haplogroup is everybody can be traced back to Africa. And so the different haplogroups are the ones which migrated. This one migrated from Africa 10,000 years ago. This one migrated in this direction from Africa 30,000 years ago. So it can tell you that kind of stuff as well. And it's fascinating. And just as a side note, wouldn't that be an interesting thing for everybody to do? Maybe someday in school we will, do that, where that will be part of our learning. Not world history like this was other people, but world history, this was us. And so anyway, the story of, so I was a typical Midwesterner, not that particularly aware of my ancestry. His grandpa came from Norway. Grandfather is adopted, we don't know. And so I didn't really have much to go on. But my daughter had to do a project, a little bit about ancestry, about something about which country, do you know? And all I knew was Norway. So I called my brother and I said, what do we know? Not much. And he said, well, I recently made a Facebook, expanding your circle on Facebook. So I made a Facebook friend with a distant cousin we have in Norway. Why don't you contact him? Because I don't know. So I contacted Jan Arn. And, he's so nice. And he told me all sorts of things about my grandfather that I never even knew. And then about my grandpa's business, and I began to understand a lot more things about his personality and a lot more things about why he left Norway. It made a whole lot of sense because the rest of his family didn't. It was only him. So apparently I inherited that, where he said, I'm leaving this place. And he did. And none of the family came with him. So I began to feel more connected to him, like, oh, okay, I can definitely see how I inherited these personality traits were passed down to me. I can understand that. So then later, Facebook message came, and it was Jan Arndt again, and he said, hey, Kyra, I was going through some old stuff at the grandparents' house, and I found this smelly old book that belonged to Joe Fred, and it's yours. I don't know why, but it's yours, so I'm going to mail it to you. And it came in the mail. After a long time, it was really funny. It took months to get here. Jan said, what happened to the book? And I said, I don't know. And months later it came, and I think it just represented like his journey across the ocean. Like it took forever. I don't know where, if it went to Pakistan, and then it went to Brazil, and then it came. I don't know what happened. But it took forever to arrive. And now I don't spend a lot of time looking in the book or anything, but it represents my grandfather. And what it represents for me is, what it became clear it was my doorway into my spiritual ancestry. That's what this is. It's a doorway. Why? Because I didn't know him. So it was very easy to have no preconceived notions, particularly, of what he was like. And it was very easy for me to just have a curiosity about him and to just connect with him on this spiritual level as an ancestor, as a part of my spiritual support. Then later I realized, I need to include my mother. I need to include my father. I need to include my grandma. All of these people who had very distinctive and strong personalities while they were alive. And that actually had kept me from looking to them in a spiritual way after their passing, because I kind of thought, well, I know what their opinion would be about this. Isn't that dumb? But we do that. We do that. We limit. So that's a part of how we limit our circle as well. We literally limit the spiritual support that's available for us because we think, oh, well, I kind of know what that's going to be like, or no, I don't really want to connect with that person, or we think, well, I work with sensitive people, so we think things such as, well, I don't really deserve to connect with those people, or I don't, who am I? Who am I to ask for the support of my ancestors? Who am I? Oh, I hear that so much from the sensitive people. We ain't doing that today, all right? Today, we are who we are. We have a lineage, and we're going to expand our awareness of that lineage, which goes all the way back to Africa, all the way back to pre-recorded history. But we're going to focus on whoever comes to you today. So here we go, taking a nice deep breath. And I'm going to lead you through a little meditation first. What I'd like you to do is go inward for a moment. So go inward. Imagine all those bones that are in your body, your skeleton. So literally feel those bones in your body. So your skull goes down your spinal column. The bones go down into your arms all the way to your fingertips. Your rib cage goes down your pelvis, and those really large bones down in your leg all the way down to your feet. So feeling that bone structure. And now go even deeper, more deeply within your body. All your internal organs, all the blood vessels. So for a moment, thinking about the heart, you may feel it beating and noticing how that blood whooshes through your heart, goes out through the veins and arteries, through your entire body. And we're going to go in a little more deeply within your heart, in those chambers within your heart as it beats. I'd like you to imagine that you have an electron microscope and you're looking at the tissue of the heart, and you're going in more deeply, and you see the cells. And you're going in more deeply. You know how when they do that, you can start to see the molecular structure of things. And you can see the space around the molecular structure. So we're going deep, 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 deep in within the cells, all the way to the very, very core of the cell. So maybe pick one particular cell. You're going all the way to the very, very depths of that cell, to the DNA. And when you connect with that DNA, you realize that although it's super teeny, teeny, tiny, it is huge. It's expansive. There's more space in there than you can possibly imagine. Tons and tons and tons of information. Now, don't get overwhelmed with that, because we don't need to know everything that's in there. But what's in there is a tremendous amount about who you are, who you've been, and what we're talking about today, your ancestry. Everything that's ever been passed down to you, everything that's ever been passed down to you is there in your DNA. And so, just noticing that, breathing into that. We're just sending out a request today for an ancestor or ancestors to come forth who can give you some really good support that you would benefit from in your life right now. Maybe a message. Maybe just unconditional love. Maybe just realizing that even the people we knew, now that they're in spirit, they're different. They're different than the people we knew. And they have our best interests at heart. They're very interested. That's what I learned about my grandfather. He's very, very interested in what I'm doing. And wants to help, wants to be of support. That's why he insisted I bring his book today, because he wanted to be a part of this. So I'm going to be quiet for just a moment and let you connect with the ancestors that have come to you. Just feeling their energy. Allowing an expansion of who you are. Noticing that these are not energies that are separate from you. This is within you. This is you. Expanding your circle. Expanding the spiritual support that is available to you. And now, whoever it is that you are connecting with, ask them to give you just a little glimpse into the vastness of this circle of your ancestry, of this spiritual support. You're going to start to realize, whoa, that's big. That's big. And that is you. It is contained within your DNA. That is support that is always there for you. And just bringing yourself back to your awareness of your body. So kind of bringing that microscope back out. Feeling your body in the chair, taking in a couple nice energizing breaths. Yeah, moving around a bit. And it's going to be so individual for each one of you, kind of what you felt, who came forward, what that was about. And that's the beauty of a place like this, is that I'm not going to tell you what you should message you should get from your ancestors, am I? Why would I do that? It's very individual for each of us. And this is the oxymoron of being a sensitive person, is that when we're sensitive, sometimes we feel very small and misunderstood, and I gotta make myself fit in with the way the rest of this world works, and things like that. And we get smaller and smaller. Every single thing we do to be true to who we are, to know, to acknowledge and validate for ourselves, this is what I feel. So obviously it's real and it's happening. Every single thing we do, that's our own nature. Well, I'm interested in this, so I'm going to do it. If I want to take my crystal to work and put it on my desk, I'm going to do it. If I want to sit and do a meditation to change the vibration of what's happening right now, I have the power to do that, and I'm going to do it. So really, as sensitive people, what we are is huge. We're giant. We are so spiritually there. We have so much energy. And that's why a lot of times we don't feel so good, because we've taken that energy and we've pulled it in and we've pulled it in, and we don't feel like we deserve. Well, why should I take up all that spiritual space? That's not logical. It's not logical. There's plenty of space for everybody. So we're just going to come back to that one more time. I just want you to allow yourself to feel as big as possible right now, to be who you are. Your opinions, your feelings, your spiritual awareness, your preferences, your personality. And feel for a moment from all those ancestors that we tapped into, their absolute unconditional love for you. Absolute unconditional love and acceptance and support and cheerleading that they do for you and who you are. Sometimes we don't get that from the humans that we live with, that we work with, that we know. So what? They aren't the boss of you, unless they're your boss, but they aren't the boss of you. And a lot of times they're misguided, and they're in their own drama, and they're in their own smallness. This is what I really want sensitive people to understand. When we tap into something like this, to our ancestors, to our spirit guides, to our DNA, to our energy, to our heart, to our chakras, that is what is real. That is what is real. And it's more real than somebody making a snarky remark to you at Target because you picked up the last thing that was on sale that they wanted. That's passing. This is real, and it's forever, and it's eternal. All right. I don't know if you guys usually take questions, but I always do better if I let people ask questions. So this really can be about anything, about being a sensitive person, about being empathic, about the ancestors. Yes?
Do you find any connection between intuitives, sensitive people, and introversion? Is it a result of it, or do you not really see a connection there?
Oh, there's a connection. That's a great question. And I often do, when I'm really establishing, like I'm in an interview and I want to clarify some things, I will say right off the bat, okay, now, shyness, introversion, extroversion, and highly sensitive, those are all different things. So they all are separate things. There are plenty of people who are extroverted and sensitive. So I think but sensitive people and intuitives do tend often to be more introverted, but I honestly think it's because of the society we live in, not always because of us ourselves. Yes, yeah, right. Now, that said, I will say, I feel energy like extreme, like this eclipse that just went by. Holy moly! I just needed to go by myself and rest after that. before that. So sometimes the introversion is actually more, I need to regroup. It takes a lot of energy to perceive this much energy, so I need to regroup. But when it comes more about not wanting to be around people or that kind of stuff, I really believe it's a reaction to the society we live in, and that if we were more open about being intuitive and could learn more about it earlier, we'd all be more extroverted. Okay? Yeah.
I'm not sure how to phrase this, but it's the question of what help how might you direct people that you feel are empathic and they're not able to shine yet, and that you feel like they may need some help? Where might you send them, or what might you do?
Okay. Well, I wouldn't send them anywhere. Except send them to my office, I guess. But if you're going on a trip, take me with you. But it's a great question, and that really is, most of the clients who come to me are in that exact place where I'm empathic and I'm uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do about it. The first thing I do is just knowledge, just awareness. Okay, this is what it means to be empathic. This is not a life sentence. It is changeable. And that's the first thing that people go, huh? Because we tend to think, well, if I'm empathic and I'm picking up on someone's sadness and it hurts me, that's the way it's going to be forevermore, right? People are always going to be sad. I'm always going to be picking up on it, and it's always going to hurt. No, it's changeable. When we understand more about who we are and we do things like maybe flower essences or meditation, or there's a lot of drumming. I mean, there's a lot of things that can help us literally recalibrate our energy and who we are. What we're perceptive of can change. The other side of it is extreme self-care. For a while, I've been writing in my books. When I sign my books, I sign it, your most important job is taking care of you. So when empathic people can step back for a moment, not worry about what's going on with other people, really take care of themselves, do some healing, really focus on themselves, they'll find that what I talked about earlier, that habit of being in a more ornery or more crabby or a more sad or depressed energy can shift. And then literally, if you're not in that energy, you're not going to really perceive it as hard when someone else is in an energy that you're not in. So let's say you're in a place where you've done a lot of healing work, you're feeling a lot more confident about who you are, and you're generally in a really good place. So someone who's really angry about something, you're not going to take that in. This is just not possible. The vibrations are too different. But you'll be aware of it, because we're empathic. You'll be aware of it, and you'll use it and say, this is not the day to ask for a raise, because he's angry today. So it's useful. So that's what I try to teach people. There's a difference between being inundated by it, and this is just useful information. It's like he was saying, calling us intuitives. It's being intuitive. So that's a long answer for that.
Hi.
Yeah.
I have a family member, and I don't know how to help her. She is incredible with animals.
Oh.
You know, incredibly sensitive, loving. Her animals have like the best life ever. But when it comes to humans, she's completely shut down to the point where she can't even write a handwritten note in a card. She won't buy a card that's blank because she can't express her emotions. And so I think she's been stuffing, and trying to have kind of like a facade to protect herself.
Mm-hmm.
So humanly, she comes off as a robot, but with animals, she's like her full self.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help somebody like that? Because I feel she's robbing herself of the joy of living.
I am going to ask you how this person is related to you. Daughter, sister,
Sister.
What? Okay. Because it makes a difference if you're a mom and it's a child, versus a sister or something.
Awesome.
So, okay. I'm going to say this to love her as she is. I know you do, and I know that you wish more for her life. This almost goes back to the question about this, are we introverted? Where did this come from? she's an extreme example of that. And I've known other people too who say people stink, and so they do. Their world is through their animals, through their pets. Maybe they raise animals, or they breed dogs or something like that. And so they all of their interfacing is through the animal, and then maybe they'll meet people through the animal because they have animals too, or they're interested in the animals, but that's all the interfacing they do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. I would
sense how much pain on the human side.
Yeah. I work with flower essences, and a lot of times people are interested in working with them because it's nature. There are flower essences. I'm not talking about essential oils, aromatherapy. It's the energy of the plants. And they really help people. They really help sensitive people because only sensitive people can make them. And there are even essences. There's a shaman who makes essences about power animals. So there's even an animal kind of related essence. And that might be I want to give you something practical rather than saying, just love her the way she is and it's fine. And you'll say, that was the best talk ever, thanks. These essences can help people and help a lot with those adjustments, and I call it recalibration. And also, oftentimes people will use the essences with their animals. They see how the animals react to them, and then they say, oh, I could use that too. So that's a practical thing that I would investigate for her. All right, yay.
I have a question. Yes. And I may be thinking about this way too hard, but when we did the exercise to expand our energy field, how can you not pick up everybody else's stuff when you do that?
Well, here's what I'm going to ask. In this situation, was there anything wrong with that? Mm-hmm. So it goes back to kind of when I was answering his question. This is a rough thing for sensitive people, but we can get there. We need to understand our own power. Think of yourself like a magnet. You are powerful. You have a never-ending source of energy, just like a magnet. So when you expand out and you pick up what's going on with other people, you actually can get, I'm emphasizing this, you can get to the point where you choose what you pick up. So it's just like you go in Target, you don't just buy everything, and you don't buy the peanut butter you don't like just because it's there. You choose what you want that fits with your energy, that you're hungry for, that you want, that's going to nourish you. You can do the same thing with your energy. It's a process. It's not about really specifically hammering on that one idea, but it's about taking care of yourself, clearing your energy as much as possible, allowing yourself to feel stronger about who you are, more confident about who you are, understanding your own power. All those things mix together, and then what happens is you're in a space and you know there's a beautiful myriad of just a variety of energies here. So if you're like a group of people like this, there's a whole mess of stuff going on. It's all kind of fun. And I can bathe myself in the energies I want, and the ones that I don't want to, irrelevant to me. You can get there. Alrighty. Okay, I think my time is up. Oh, one more? Okay. Yeah.
I don't know how to ask this, but I do all those things that you're supposed to do, and my confidence, it's like once I get my confidence up, something happens to totally knock it back down. But that's where I feel comfortable, is not having my confidence. I'm going to have it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to break it. It's like you want your confidence out there, but in this world, it's hard.
Well, There's all sorts of wonderful healers that are here, and then I work with sensitive people with that a lot. One thing to recognize about being a sensitive old soul is that oftentimes we are born, like I said, now I was focusing on the positive things. We're born being very connected. We're born wanting to get out there, understand things, learn and grow. But as old souls, a lot of us are born with low self-esteem because we've had a lot of lives. And so we've had a lot of disappointments and a lot of more recent memories of not being accepted for who we were. And I'm a big believer in that whole in utero thing, kind of wherever, I don't blame moms, but let's say parents, wherever your parents' self-esteem level is, well, that's what we're born into. And so, again, it's like not taking it so incredibly personally, like why can't I get over this confidence thing? God, I've tried everything, just to recognize, okay, that's a level I was born into. Then perhaps some hypnotherapy, flower essences, or meditation, where you, maybe like from this ancestral thing we did, there might be an ancestor who might come in and say, here's an energy that you can feel about yourself, and just doing that over and over and over to shift it, so that it's not an intellectual thing that can really be addressed that way. It is an energetic thing. So I think it's something that you're holding. Maybe it's right. Yep, and that's it. The self-worth. That a lot of old souls are born that way. So when you get the double whammy of maybe past life stuff, born that way, and then, like I know for me personally, born into a mommy who had about the worst self-worth you could possibly think of, like negative 20. And so, I had to work through my life to recognize I didn't have to hold that energy. And sometimes that's the power of it, is recognizing, rather than internally taking it, this is mine, saying this is an energy, and I don't have to hold that energy. I don't have to do that. So there's different ways to go about it, but you'll get there. Just take some different approaches, the back door, try some different things, and recognize that it's not just you, though. I mean, it's a common thing. So I hope that helps. All right, you guys. What do I do now?
Thank you, Dr. Kyra.
Thank you. Nice deep breath in. I'd like you to imagine that energy actually coming from me, going all around the circle. A rainbow of colors. Just like the rainbow of colors of who we are. Everybody's unique. Everybody is so fun and has different interests, different talents, different jokes that they think are funny. Got one going right down there. The giggling. And we all can help each other so much more than we realize. Because all it takes is one tiny nice comment, one smile, one just acknowledgement of, yeah, I've been there. And that's sometimes all we have to do to completely change someone's day, completely change the trajectory of what they're on. And so allow yourself to accept that from other people as well. Don't always just give. Receive. And so let's do that again, receiving the energy and the love from this circle, allowing yourself to receive it in its purity. And I thank all of you for being here today. Just a deep breath in. Let's feel that for just about 10 seconds or so. Receiving, allowing yourself to receive. Accept. Love, appreciation for who you are. And what do you guys usually say at the end? Opa!